Dear students, welcome back to our exam session. We stopped before the break when we reached the writing question. And we said we're going to talk about this question in details. I'm going to give the floor to Ms. Faize to tell you about first the chart, how in the exam your answer about writing composition will be judged. Ms. Faize, the floor is yours.
Okay, now for the composition it is allotted 66 marks, and these marks are distributed according to a chart, includes communication.
Yes.
Okay.
Will you please explain the meaning of communication and the meaning of vocabulary and why is it like this?
Okay. The communication should be clear, okay, should be well organized, the text, and the language should be appropriate.
Yes.
And for the communication, it is allotted 13 marks.
Yes.
Okay. We have 13 marks as well for spelling and punctuation. Most of our students do not pay attention to punctuation, and we have marks for punctuation. And for the spelling, if there is a mistake in the spelling that it doesn't give rise to another meaning, we do not, we give him a full mark. For the spelling and punctuation, they should be accurate spelling and punctuation in simple and complex language. I'd like my students to use simple sentences so that there won't be a lot of mistakes. So students should pay attention to punctuation, full stops, question marks, capitalization, commas, etc. Now we have vocabulary. It is allotted as well 13 marks. The vocabulary should be wide range. There should be wide range of vocabulary, accurate and appropriate, according or related to the text. Okay, so any vocabulary is not related to the composition will not get any mark. So the vocabulary should be related to the required text. For example, a tourist attraction in your country, vocabulary related to this topic. We have a grammar. Okay. According to grammar, it is allotted as well 13 marks. There should be very wide range of accurate and appropriate grammar required for the task. Task response. For example, here we have a tourist attraction in your country. If the students write another topic, it has nothing to do to this tourist attraction. This topic, okay, in particular. So this is called task response. So for spelling and punctuation, Mr. Majid, most numbers of the words, okay? Shall we discuss it?
Yeah, before we discuss the numbers of letters, I want just to clarify something.
Okay.
So for the student, after he writes is what is needed, he takes 13 marks for task response.
Yeah.
So he got this. We move to the punctuation. If the vocabulary in the composition is used as needed, again he gets another 13 marks. Then we come to the grammar and the spelling. For this, usually the first two mistakes are overlooked. Later, if he makes, for example, another third mistake, they will lose 1 mark for grammar and for spelling, but the same mistake will not be judged another time.
Only one.
So, for example, if he said he speak instead of he speaks, he will lose 1 mark for grammar. But if he repeated the same mistake, he will not lose any. Yes, so 1 time he is going to be judged 1 time, and for the spelling, 13 marks as Ms. Faide said, and 13 marks for grammar. Now let's move to the number of words.
Now the rubric here says, write a composition of no less than 80 words. Okay? on the following topic. So the student is going to write not less than 80 words. Okay? If he writes less than 80 words, something is going to be new or changed, okay, according to the distribution of marks.
70
Between
to
70 to 80,
it's okay.
it is okay.
More than 80,
it's okay.
It is okay. But less than 70, there is going to be a deduction of
now let's
marks.
now give them 70 to 79.
Here we have 70 to 80, 66 marks, full mark. He will get the full mark.
Okay, 70 to 80.
But if he has a paragraph between 60 and 69, he will get 60 marks. So 6 marks are deducted.
So from every category, 1 mark.
Of course. Now 60 to 68, 60 marks. Okay. Here we have 50 to 59. He is going to have 55 marks. Okay. From 40 to 49, he is going to have 45 marks. From 30 to 39 words, he is going to have 35 marks. Okay. Then we have from 20 to 29, he is going to have 25 marks. If his composition is good and there are no mistakes.
Less than 20, what do you do?
Yeah, less than 20, he is going to be judged according to the sentences. 5 marks for every sentence. So in the end, the students will take marks for what he has written. He's not going to take to be 0, except if it is nonsense or it's not logical
or
out of the point.
Okay.
If it is out
Mr. Majid, I want to advise our dear students not to give more details or extra information about the composition, because if they make mistake, they will lose their marks. Okay?
Yes, you advise them not to write more than 80.
Yes.
Because in this case, they will be judged for grammar and for spelling. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, good.
I have a question. Some students write 2 compositions.
Yeah, usually the first one is considered. Even if it was worse, maybe the second was better, maybe the first has response with the task, but maybe the first one does not respond with the task, the second does, but the first is considered. Sometimes if both are the same, so this changes according to the grading scale, but we are here to advise the students to keep on the safe side. What we are telling them is not depending on what may happen in the discussion of grading scale. Maybe something will change, but for sure, something will take the full mark, whatever the grading scale was. This is what we are working on. We are advising the students to keep on the safe side, to write between 70 to 80, not less, and to make sure that they use the exact vocabulary and to make sure that they know how to write the word. If they think that this word is written wrongly, they try to change the word, even if they wrote 2 or 3 words, a sentence, to give the meaning, but to make sure that they know how to write the word, it is better for them. What else, Ms. Fazi, you want to add? Let's talk about...
I'd like to say that students must be simple.
As simple as possible.
Simple, please, my dear student. Don't try to write complex sentences. Try to be simple.
This is a good advice. Again, if the student is very strong and he tries to show off by writing, he may get in trouble. I'm not going to go in details, but the advice is be as simple as possible. Simple sentences. Actually, this is what we advise the students before the exam, to practice writing simple sentences, because a composition is composed of sentences. When the student knows how to write a sentence, he joins between 2 sentences in a comma, with a comma, or with a conjunction. In the end, 10 sentences together make composition. That's why.
And try not to write 2 topics or two paragraphs.
Yes,
or
don't write 2 paragraphs or 2 compositions. Write one
Only
composition.
The first one is taken into consideration.
And be to the point. What is needed? what is needed. Some teachers advise the students to start with the cliché. For example, in this exam,
the same words.
it was a tourist attraction in your country. They advise their students to say, start with a tourist attraction in my country is, and they write another thing, they will get
That's
zero.
wrong, yes.
This is not going to work. They need to write about what is wanted. Now let's explain more about the composition. What does a composition have in general? What about the beginning,
Yes.
the middle, the end? Yeah,
So there should be an introduction,
yeah, introductory
About things.
topic or
Sentence.
sentence.
Yes.
The body of the paragraph.
then the body to
Yes.
explain about what is going to go about, for example, tourist attraction,
Describing.
description of the country, what people can see. I'm talking now about this exercise. Exactly.
Yeah.
So the student can write about the places for tourists to visit. He can write about famous monumental areas in the country. He can recommend some places for tourists. But here in this exercise, it is written about a tourist attraction. So it's one thing. For example,
One tourist.
the Umayyad Mosque
Yeah.
or Al-Hamidiyya Souk. So he is going to explain things about one thing, one tourist attraction. In the end,
The conclusion.
the conclusion. The conclusion can be a sentence or two sentences to summarize what he has written about. And usually the conclusion is like the
We can
introductory
rewrite.
section.
Yes, rewrite the introduction in
Yeah,
other
repeat
ways.
the same thing
Other
in
words.
brief
Same
way.
thing in the introductory. Here we have introductory sentence, then we have the body, then we have the end.
Conclusion.
Like this. Do you have anything to add about composition? No. Well, like this, we finished discussing the example. We hope our students followed us and got benefit. Now, in the remaining time, we are going to give extra information and we are going to go back to what we have presented, the tenses. I'm going to start. Yeah, okay, Mr. Mahmoud is going to help us to start the
Exam.
Yes, thank you. Let's move to the following slide next. Simple present tense. Miss Huda is going to read the affirmative
Yes.
form.
Yes. Subject, verb 1, complement.
Next.
Example, I speak English, he speaks English.
What is the difference between I and he?
With the pronouns he, she, it, we add s to the verb.
Thank you. Next.
I have a car, she has a car.
So for verb to have,
Yes.
has goes with
He, she, and it.
yes. Next.
Notice we add es to the verb instead of s with he, she, it when the word ends in s, double s, sh, ch, x, z, o.
Thank you.
So students should keep memorizing these letters.
Yeah, they need to know these so
Yes.
that in writing, after these endings, we need to add es
Instead
Like
of
a
S.
glass, glasses. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
we have
books,
examples.
Example
Yes, you
here.
can give us example.
Do, does, go,
Do, does, go, goes.
wash,
He finishes.
Finishes,
watch, watches,
Watch, fix.
Fix, fixes.
fixes, yes.
Next. With the question form of the simple present tense is
Yes, do, does, plus subject, plus infinitive. The students should keep memorizing
Yes.
these two. Infinitive
After
plus complement.
using any auxiliary,
Yeah,
we
with the
use
infinitive verb,
the
the
simple
infinitive,
form
or
of
the
the
base
verb.
form.
Next.
Example, do you speak English? Do you have a car?
Yes.
Does he speak English? Does she have a car?
Yes. And have, not has,
Yes.
because
Of that.
Does, because of does.
because have is the infinitive
Yes.
of verb to have. Yes.
Yes.
Next.
Notice,
The negative form.
yes.
Subject.
Subject, do or does, not, infinitive, complement, infinitive. Example, I don't or do not speak English. he doesn't or does not have a car.
Yes, thank you. Miss Abir, continue please. Next, the use.
Now here we have
which
the
is
use.
very
Yeah.
important for the students to know
Yes.
how to use
Yeah.
it. First,
So
with
we use the present simple with habits, habitual actions,
actions.
habitual actions. Here we use verbs or adverbs of frequency such as always, usually, sometimes, often, never, seldom, generally, rarely, once, twice, three times, frequently, every day, every week, every month, every year, and every.
Yes, so everything that
Yeah.
shows frequency.
Yeah.
Example.
Example, it often rains in winter. I go to school every day. This is a habitual thing.
Yes.
And she sometimes plays tennis.
Yes. And next.
Number
facts.
2 with facts. Example, the earth goes around the sun. This is a scientific fact.
We eat
And
to live.
we eat to live. This
It's a
is
general.
a general fact. With the state verbs, so in voluntary verbs, I see a bird. This is a state verb see, and she hears my voice. It's,
So see is a state verb.
yeah, and
hear
here
is a
is the
state
state verb. Yeah.
Yes. Next.
There are other uses such as, please,
Again, next.
next, please.
Next.
In narration, example, it's Jane's birthday. She wakes up early, has a shower, she gets dressed, and goes to shop.
Yes.
And instead of a future tense, when we have a timetable, the lesson starts at 8 o'clock or the plane takes off at 4:30 a.m.
Thank you. Miss Sana, continue please. Next, please. The present continuous
Present
tense.
continuous tense, please.
Okay. Affirmative form. Subject plus or is or are plus verb ing plus the complement. For example, I'm playing football. She's reading a book. We're studying. In the question form, we use or is or are plus the subject plus verb ing plus the complement. For example, am I speaking quickly? Is he playing football? Are you studying? But in the negative form, the form is subject plus or is or are plus not plus verb ing plus the complement. For example, I'm not working now. She isn't cooking at the moment. They aren't studying. For example, I'm not is the short form. I'm not. This is the short form or abbreviation. I'm not, but we can't write or say amn't.
I am.
I amn't. Yes, this is unusual. He is not. He isn't. He is not.
Or he's not.
Or he's not. We are not. We aren't. We are not.
So we aren't or we're not.
We're not.
Now the use. This is very important.
The use to express that the action is happening now. We use now, right now, at the moment, at the present, today, tonight, this week, this month, this year. For example, I'm watching a film now. Number 2, with incomplete actions. For example, she's writing a book.
When something is incomplete, we use it always with the continuous.
Okay.
Past, present, or future. Something not complete, we use it with the continuous.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we repeat, the main use of the present continuous tense is to show that the action is happening at the moment of speaking. To show that the action is happening at the moment of speaking. This is the main use, and when something is happening at the moment of speaking, it should be in the present continuous tense. I'm going to help.
Present perfect tense.
We were here, days. We were here, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
The second use was
To express.
to show that something is incomplete. For example, if Sana was reading a book And Huda came to take a book, but Sana didn't finish yet. So I say, Sana is reading the book. Of course, now she's not reading, but since she didn't finish,
In this period of time.
yeah, we say. And the example of I'm writing, she is writing a book, the meaning here is a long term, but the action is incomplete. Can you move it next, please? Again, next. Instead of future tense, Miss Abir, read it.
Instead of future tense, when we talk about the arrangement,
What do we mean by arrangement?
yeah, when we arrange to do,
Next month,
yeah,
he says, I am going to get married next month.
yeah,
But if he found the bride, agreed with her, just a moment, sir. Just a moment, yeah. We agreed with the girl. So we have arrangement between him and her. He
Between
can
both
say,
of them.
I'm getting
Yeah, I'm
married.
getting married.
Yeah, continue with
Yeah.
temporary. Again, the affirmative form, Ms. Faiza is going now to go with us with the
Okay,
simple
the
past tense.
affirmative form is subject, verb to, and the complement. Example, I went to school yesterday. Here we have the indicator yesterday, and the verb went is verb to from go, and she played volleyball last Monday. Here we have the indicator is last, and played is the verb to from play.
Yes, next.
Question form, we use did, subject, infinitive, and the complement. Of course, when we use did, does, or do, the verb change into the infinitive. Did you play? Did you play? Not did you play. Did you play football last Monday? Did you see or did she see the film before? And did with all pronouns.
Yes.
Okay. Negative form, we use subject, did, and not, plus infinitive plus the complement. I didn't or I did not play tennis yesterday. She didn't or he didn't go to the cinema with me.
Yes.
Okay.
Next. They use.
They use to express a single action happened and ended in the past. We saw that film a week ago. Okay. And we use the adverb yesterday, last week, last Saturday morning, last Tuesday evening, etc. Ago, 2 weeks ago, last year.
Yes.
These are the indicators.
So these are the key words with the simple past.
And to express a habit that was frequent in the past. I swam in the river every day, but last summer.
Yes. Here we use the frequency adverbs or adverbial phrases with the simple past also.
Yeah. With the unreal past, he speaks as if she was an adult.
Yes.
I
it's
wish.
conditional.
Yeah. I wish I knew her, the answer.
Yes.
With second conditional sentences, if I was or if I were rich, I would buy a big house.
Yes. Past continuous tense. This is Miss Sana's turn.
Okay. The use to express single action
No,
happened.
we skipped, I think.
yeah.
We skipped the
One
title.
slide, one slide.
Just the
Past continuous.
past continuous tense. Thank you. Okay.
Yes, Miss Sana.
Past continuous tense. In the affirmative form, we use subject plus was or were plus verb, ing plus the complement. For example, I was having dinner when you phoned.
Yes.
As we can see, I was having in the past continuous tense, and the next in the next
Yes.
is simple past. The second example, the boys were playing football when the bell rang. Okay, now in the question form, was or were plus subject plus verb ing plus the complement. For example, were you studying? Was he watching a film? Now, in the negative form, we use subject plus was or were plus not plus verb ing plus the complement. For example, I wasn't playing, they weren't studying.
The use, which is the most important thing.
The use. The first one, to show that the action was in progress in the past. For example, we were studying all day yesterday. All
Here,
day.
all plus time
Yes,
shows
all show the progress.
continuity. Yes.
Now, number two, to talk about two actions in the past. The first was in progress and was interrupted by another action. We put the first in the past continuous tense and the one which interrupted it in the past simple.
Yes, like the example.
Okay, like
above.
example above. Number 3, to show that the actions was incomplete in the past.
Yes. Compare.
I read a book on
I
the
read a book.
I read a book on the plane.
I finished.
It means I finish it. I was reading a book on the plane. It means I didn't finish it.
So when we use the continuous, it means incomplete. When something incomplete, we use the continuous tense. Yes. Now.
Okay, continue.
Yeah, continue, please.
When the action happens quickly, we use the simple past, not the past continuous. For example, a bee stung me last week. Note that
Not.
a bee, no, not a bee was stinging me. Not a
Yes,
bee was
because
stinging me.
does
Stinging
not
me.
take time.
Yes, get it. Because the verb sting doesn't need time to happen. Number 4, with the state verbs. For example, I saw a bird. I knew the answer.
Yes. Present perfect, Miss Abir.
Yeah. Now, affirmative form, subject, have or has, verb 3, and complement. I have just eaten lunch. She has now almost finished cleaning the house. So, with the he, she, it, we use has, and verb 3, we with the other pronouns, we use have. Now, question form, have or has at the beginning, then subject, then verb 3, then complement. Example, have you eaten lunch? Or has he written a letter? Negative form, subject, have or has, not, verb 3, and complement. I haven't done my homework. She has never played tennis, and never here means
Yeah, we
negative.
can use never for negative
Yeah,
meaning.
for negative
Yes.
meaning. Haven't
Equals
means have not, and hasn't
Has
has
not.
not.
Has
Yeah.
not. The use.
The use. When an action happened in the past, the exact time is not mentioned, because when the time is mentioned, it would be a past simple,
Past
not
simple.
a
This is the
present.
difference
Yeah,
between
this
the
is the
simple
difference
past
between them.
and past perfect.
And when we talk about it now, or when we see the result now,
Yes.
Somebody has painted the door. So the result that the door is painted. So somebody has painted the door. In this case, we use already, almost, just, or yet. I have just eaten lunch. She has almost finished cleaning the house. My father hasn't come yet. Has your father come yet? Now this is yet. We can use the yet with negative sentences and with the questions
Yes.
at the end of the sentence. Notice, has your father come is a normal question, whereas hasn't your father come yet expresses surprise.
Surprising.
Usually, negative questions express surprise.
Yes.
I have already written an email. This is affirmative.
Miss Huda, continue,
Yes.
please.
Number 2, when the action started in the past and has continued without stop until the present and may continue in the future. In this case, we use since with a point in time and for with the duration of time. Example, I have played the piano since I was 10. She has driven her car for 3 years.
Yeah. 3.
Years.
When something?
Yes. When something has never happened before. She has never seen snow. We use never.
Yeah.
Number 4, when one action has happened many times until the present. Example, we have had 4 tests so far. We use in this case so far or until now or up to now.
Compare.
Yes, compare. He has been shopping. He went and
returned.
returned. He has gone shopping. He is still there. He is still shopping.
Yes.
Then come
Yeah.
back again.
Present perfect continuous. We're going to ask Miss Faiza to talk about this.
Present perfect continuous. The affirmative form is subject, have or has according to the subject, been plus verb ing plus the complement. Example, I have been waiting for an hour. He has been teaching since 1999. About the question form, we have or has according to the subject, subject being verb ing complement and the question mark. Example, have you been teaching since 1999? How long has she been teaching? According to the negative form, we are going to add only not to the verb have or has. I have not or I haven't been teaching, or he hasn't been waiting.
Yeah, thank you. Next. The use.
The use of the present perfect is to show that the action has started in the past, has continued to the present, and may continue in the future. We use since and for. Since for a particular time.
Yes, for
and
a point in time.
Okay, for a period of
for duration of time. And in this case, do we have difference between the present perfect continuous and the present perfect simple with since and for?
No, there is no difference. No
Both
difference.
are accepted.
Yeah. I've been waiting for an hour. He has been teaching since 1999. Or to talk about a past activity that has a present result.
Yeah, this is important for the baccalaureate level.
He's tired.
Yes, he's tired.
Because he has been running. This is the result. He is tired. Why? Because he has been running. Her hair is wet because she has been swimming.
Yes.
And we use the adverbs lately, recently, all day, all morning, all week with the tense. Present perfect. Continuous. Now, when we use all plus time, for example, all day, all week, this means that the action is long and should be in the continuous tense, whatever the tense is.
Yes. Now, past perfect tense, Miss Huda.
Yes, affirmative form, subject, had, verb 3, and complement. Example, I had eaten breakfast before I went to bed.
To school.
To school, yes.
Okay. Usually you go to bed after class.
Yes, I'm sorry. Question form, had, subject, verb 3, and complement. Example, had he eaten breakfast before he went to school? Negative form, subject, had not, verb 3, and complement. I hadn't eaten breakfast before I went to school.
The use of past perfect tense.
Yes. 1. When we talk about two actions in the past with a period of time between them, we put that happened first in the past perfect tense and that happened second in simple past tense. Example, I had eaten breakfast before I went to school. Note, when we have succession, two or more actions following one another in sequence, we put them all in the simple past tense.
Yeah, actually, this is why we put up that with period of time between them. Because when there is no period of time between, when they happen one following another, it is called succession, and we put all in the simple past tense. Miss Sana is going to complete.
When we talk about an action happened before a specific past time, for example, before sunrise, the doctor had performed the operation. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Number 3, when an action never happened before a specific past time. For example, before she went to Lebanon last February, Suha had never seen snow.
Yeah, we talked about something like this with the present perfect. We said when something never happened before now. If this now was yesterday, instead of the present perfect, we use the past perfect. Before yesterday, Suha had never seen snow
before, yes. Number 4, with third conditional sentences. For example, if I had known the answer, I would have told you.
If I had known the answer, I would have told you. Yes. The past perfect continuous, Miss Faizi.
Now the affirmative form is subject, had, been, verb ing, and the complement. The police had been looking for the criminal for 2 years before they caught him last week.
The police had been looking for the criminal for 2 years before they caught him yesterday. So the police started looking first. They took time, and then they caught. Catching him came later. The looking for was first, so we put it in the past.
It took a long time.
Yeah, it took a long time, 2 years.
Now, question form, had, subject, been, verb ing, and the complement. For example, how long had the police been looking for the criminal before they caught him last week?
Yeah. The negative form is we
Negative
put
form,
not.
we add not to the verb had. He had not or he hadn't been waiting for a long time when he found a taxi.
Yeah. The use.
The use of the past perfect continuous to show that an action was in progress before another action in the past. Example, the police had been looking for the criminal for 2 years before they caught him last week. And number 2, to talk about a past activity with a past result.
Here
He
it
was
is similar
to present perfect.
but this the result now here in the past.
In the past, yeah. He was tired because he had been running. Her hair was wet because she had been swimming.
We come to the future tense, which we didn't mention in the previous webinar.
No.
We're going to talk a little about it. We start with will, and both have main use, which is to predict the future or to talk about a plan or intention to do something. But we have difference between how to use both of them. First, we're going to show the affirmative case of will. Then we talk about the difference. Miss Sana.
In the affirmative form, we use the subject plus shall or will plus infinitive plus the complement. For example, I shall or will go to school. You will go to school. She will go to school. They will go to school. We shall or will go to school. He will go to school, and it will eat the bird.
So we use shall with I and we.
Yes.
Actually, nowadays, will is used with all pronouns, but we can use will instead of shall sometimes, and shall instead of will to show emphasis. For example, if I'm going to threaten somebody that I'm going to punish him, I can say, you shall pay for that. I use shall for emphasis. Yeah. Continue, please. The question form.
In the question form, we use shall or will plus subject plus infinitive plus the complement. For example, shall I go to school? Shall we go to school? Will you go to school? Will he go to school? Will she go to school? Will they go to school? Will it eat the bird?
Yeah. Please move it.
Now the last one is the negative form. We use subject plus shall or will plus not plus infinitive plus the complement. For example, I shall not or shan't, is that correct?
Yeah, yes, shan't
go to school. It will or it won't go to school.
The contraction of will not is won't.
Is won't, yes.
Next.
We shall not or shan't go to school. We will not or we won't go to school. For example, he will not or won't go to school. She will not or won't go to school. You will not or won't go to school. They will not or won't go to school. It will not or it won't eat the bird.
Thank you. Again, be going to. Next. The same thing, but instead of will, it's going to. I am, we use I am. Going to, he is going to, we are going to, and the base form. Next, please. The question, Miss Abir, please.
Yeah. We start with the verb to be, then subject, then going to, and infinitive with complement. Am I going to be a doctor? Are you going to be a doctor? Is he going to be a doctor? Is she going to be a doctor? Are we going to be doctors? Are they going to be doctors? Is it going to eat the bird?
Poor bird. The negative?
Yeah, poor bird. Now, negative form subject plus be, not, going to, infinitive, then complement. I'm not going to be a doctor. This is, we put not after verb to be. You are not going to be a doctor. He is not going to be a doctor. She is not going to be a doctor. We are not going to be doctors. They are not going to be doctors. It is not going to eat the bird.
Yes. Next.
We can contract I am not to means I'm not. He is not to, he's not, or he isn't. We are not to, we are not, we're not, or we aren't.
We aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next, please. Here now we come to the use will versus be going to.
Different.
First, let's start with expressing intention. If the decision is taken before, we use going to.
Going to.
If the intention or the decision is taken at the moment of speaking, we use will. Let's give examples. If I ask you, Huda, someone is knocking at the door.
I will open.
I will open. When did you take the decision?
Right now.
Right now. Again, we can give another example. I feel hungry. I can say, I will make a sandwich. I go to the kitchen. Someone asks me about my intention. What do I say?
I'm going to.
I'm going to make a sandwich because I'm talking there about something decided before.
Yes.
So, if I drop something and you say,
I will bring it.
I will bring it, I will pick it up. When did you take the decision?
At the moment.
No, at the moment. So for the students, when the decision is made at the moment of speaking, it's very clear that it is taken now, because when someone is knocking, it's now. When the phone is ringing, it's now. When I say, I don't have money,
I will give you some.
you took the decision before. Now, no, it's now. But if you are talking about a plan, for example, if someone, a woman, went to the market, she bought cucumbers, tomatoes, washed them, put them on the table. What does she say?
She's going to
make salad.
Because she decided before and bought the thing.
She arranged
Prepared.
Yeah, and if we see someone who usually wears a uniform, but now he is wearing old clothes and carrying a bucket of water,
is going to
wash the car.
wash the car, water the plants.
How do we know that it is planned before? Because he changed
His
it.
clothes.
Now, so this is for intention. Let's move it, Mr. Mahmoud, please. Can we move it? For prediction. Again, we use will and be going to for prediction. If we see something that tells us about the future, we use be going to.
Yes.
Like, look at those clouds. It's going to rain.
Yes.
If we see someone who is using the mobile phone walking and there is a hole,
It's going to
he's
fall.
going to fall. How can we know? How can we predict? We see.
We see. Yes.
So when we predict because we see, we use going to. But when we think that something may happen, just because we think, we use will. For example,
I think we will use flying cars.
we will use flying
I
cars,
think the
yes.
exam will be difficult.
I think the exam would be difficult. I hope not.
I hope not.
Don't say that.
Next.
Not English, maybe Arabic.
Yeah, it is just an example.
Yeah.
For example, I think every woman will have a plane in 50 years. Plane. Maybe this will not happen, but I think.
Maybe.
So when I predict the future, because I think, we use will.
I use the mental competence.
In
not
the exam,
the sense.
the students will be helped by some verbs like I think, I guess, I'm sure, I believe. So these words mean that it is from my mind, I don't see. But when we want the student to choose the going to form, we put a sentence that we see something.
We use
There
the
is-
senses,
yes.
the sight,
Evidence.
or
Evidence.
We have evidence that tells us something is going to happen. Do we still have, sir? Can we move? Yes. Next. This is about think again. Yes. To ask or give information, we use will. For example, we are waiting for a film. I don't say when is the film going to start. To ask for information, when will the film start? To give me information, you say the film will start in 2 minutes, 5
Yeah.
minutes. So to ask and give information, we use will.
Will.
What do we use to give a promise? Next, we use will.
Will. Yes.
Again, next,
Ask.
to give a promise, we use will. Lend me some money.
Yeah, I give you
I will give you
your
the money back
tomorrow.
tomorrow. To express a strong will.
To do something.
Yes, Huda, read the example.
Yes. To express a strong will to do something, use will. The homework is difficult, but I will do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
So
right.
I summarize for
will.
the students between will and going to. For intention, if it is at the moment of speaking, it is will. If the decision was made before going
Being
to.
going to.
For prediction, we see going to. We think
Will.
will. Now, we arrived to the end of the webinar. I want you, if you have a final advice to the students to help them, you can tell them to be calm,
Of course.
not to feel nervous,
Yes.
to read the first question. If they don't know the answer, to move. If they know
Next
the
one.
answer, not to move, to answer one by one. We wish all our students
Good luck.
good luck, the best of luck. And in the end of the webinar, I'm going to thank my colleagues in the studio, Ms. Abir Al-Hassan, English teacher, Damascus Countryside Directorate, Ms. Huda Ibrahim, Damascus, she is an English teacher as well, Ms. Faizi Janko, English supervisor in Damascus Countryside Directorate, and Ms. Sana Ismail, English teacher, Damascus Countryside Directorate, and
Many
me,
thanks for you.
Majid Overly, the coordinator of English language curriculum, NCCD, which is the National Center of Curricular Development. Best of luck to all our students.